Have you ever noticed how certain pains seem to appear out of nowhere? For the longest time, I believed my hip pain was simply because I was getting older. But one day, after talking to a trusted doctor, I discovered an uncomfortable truth. 79% of women over 60 develop hip pain not just because of age, but because of small mistakes inside their own homes. That realization shocked me. After all, home is supposed to be our safe place, our refuge. And yet, it's the everyday habits, the ones we repeat without even thinking, that slowly wear down our hips and steal our mobility. In today's video, I'm going to reveal the 7 most common household mistakes that trigger hip pain and, more importantly, how you can avoid them. Some of these will sound obvious, but I promise you, number 5 is the one most women ignore, and it might be the most damaging of all. So before we dive in, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment if you've ever felt hip pain and wondered if it was just aging. You'll be surprised by what we uncover today. Number 1. Sitting on low sofas and chairs. I'll never forget the day I tried to get up from my old living room sofa. You know the kind, the seat so deep and soft it practically swallows you whole. At first, I thought it was comfortable, almost like sinking into a hug. But the trouble came when I tried to stand up. I remember rocking myself forward, then back, then forward again, trying to get the strength to rise. On the third attempt, I felt a sharp pull in my hip that made me wince. My granddaughter, who was visiting, asked, "Grandma, are you okay?" I laughed it off, saying, "These old bones." But inside I was worried. Why was something as simple as standing up becoming so difficult? Here's the hidden truth. When we sit in very low chairs or deep sofas, our hips bend at an unnatural angle. Instead of sitting tall, our hips fold sharply, and the joint carries all the pressure. Over time, this simple posture inflames the muscles, tightens the ligaments, and puts stress on the bones. Imagine trying to lift a heavy box from the floor versus from a table. The lower it is, the harder it is on your body. That's exactly what's happening every time we lower ourselves into a deep sofa. If we ignore this, the consequences creep in silently. Getting up becomes a battle, our steps slow down, and we begin to avoid certain seats altogether. Worse still, we might start relying too much on others just to help us stand. And you know what happens then? We lose confidence. We start thinking, maybe I shouldn't go out as much. Maybe I can't manage alone anymore. But it doesn't have to be that way. The solution is surprisingly simple. First, check the chairs and sofas you use most often. Add firm cushions to raise the height so your knees stay just slightly below your hips when sitting. This position takes the pressure off the joints and makes standing up smoother. When sitting or standing, use your hands on the armrests or on your thighs to guide yourself gently, instead of forcing your hips to do all the work. And whenever possible, choose firm dining chairs or armchairs that give proper support. When I made these small adjustments, the difference was almost immediate. Getting up no longer felt like climbing a mountain. The constant ache in my hip began to ease, and I stopped dreading those little moments of sitting and rising. In fact, the first time I noticed how easily I stood from my chair, I smiled to myself. It felt like a tiny victory. And isn't that what we all want? Not miracles, not overnight cures, but those little wins that remind us we're still capable, still strong, and still in control of our own homes. Number 2. Sleeping on your side without proper support. For as long as I can remember, I loved curling up on my side to sleep. I would tuck a pillow under my head, pull the blanket tight, and think, this is cozy, this is safe. But the mornings often told a different story. I'd wake up stiff, with a dull ache running through my hip, sometimes even limping a little as I made my way to the bathroom. At first, I brushed it off. I'm getting older, I told myself. That's just how it is. But one morning, after a particularly restless night, I noticed my hip pain lasted all day long. That was my wake-up call. Maybe the problem wasn't just my age. Maybe it was the way I slept. Here's what really happens. When we lie on our side without the right support, the top leg naturally falls forward, twisting the hips and even pulling on the lower back. For hours, our bodies stay locked in that crooked position. Imagine bending a tree branch and leaving it that way overnight. By morning, it's weaker. That's exactly what happens to our hip joints when they're misaligned night after night. And the consequences. They sneak in quietly. Morning stiffness becomes the norm. The pain spreads down into the thighs or lower back. Walking to the kitchen feels heavier than it should, and suddenly we're starting the day already drained. Many women think this is arthritis progressing, when in reality, part of it comes from something as simple as pillow placement. The solution couldn't be simpler, and it doesn't cost much. Place a firm pillow between your knees every time you lie on your side. This small barrier keeps your hips aligned and prevents that twisting strain. Some women, myself included, fall in love with long body pillows because they support the entire leg. And if you're willing to experiment, spend part of the night on your back with a small pillow under your knees. It takes pressure off the hips completely. When I finally tried this, the difference was almost shocking. The next morning, I woke up lighter. My first steps didn't feel like a struggle, and instead of groaning as I stretched, I felt steady. Within a week, the hip ache that had become my morning companion was nearly gone. What struck me most was how such a small change, something as simple as a pillow, could transform the way I felt each day. It reminded me that healing doesn't always come from complicated treatments. Sometimes, it's about listening to our bodies and giving them the right kind of support while they rest. Number 3. Going up and down stairs the wrong way. One afternoon, I went to visit my sister, who lives in a 2-story house. As soon as I walked in, I smelled the familiar aroma of garlic and onions sizzling in her kitchen. She was making our favorite soup. Excited, I rushed up the stairs to greet her. Halfway up, I felt it, a sharp sting in my hip that made me grab the railing. By the time I reached the top, my breath was short, my hip was burning, and I couldn't hide the grimace on my face. My sister asked, "Are you okay?" I nodded, but inside I was thinking, since when did stairs feel like climbing a mountain? Here's the truth most women don't realize. Going up and down stairs places 2 to 3 times your body weight on the hip joints. And when we rush, skip steps, or lean too far forward, the stress multiplies. Think of it this way. Imagine carrying heavy grocery bags on just one arm. Eventually, that side becomes sore and strained. That's what we do to our hips every time we tackle stairs the wrong way. If we ignore this, the consequences creep in slowly but surely. Hip pain worsens, the risk of stumbling increases, and what used to be a simple daily activity starts to feel intimidating. I've seen women begin to avoid the upstairs altogether, leaving rooms unused in their own homes. Some even start to fear falling, and that fear takes away freedom just as much as the pain does. But the solution is within reach. First, always use the handrail, even if you think you don't need it. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. Place your whole foot firmly on each step, instead of letting your heel hang off. When climbing, push gently through the heel of your leading foot rather than pulling with your hip. And if stairs are part of your daily routine, consider placing non-slip strips or supportive rugs on each step to soften the impact. When I started paying attention to how I climbed, the difference was remarkable. Instead of dreading the stairs, I began to feel steadier, more confident, almost as if my body was thanking me for being mindful. I no longer had to pause halfway to catch my breath or soothe my hip. I could simply climb, slowly but surely. That day at my sister's house taught me something powerful. It's not about avoiding challenges, but about learning the right way to face them. Stairs will always be there, but pain doesn't have to be. Number 4. Wearing worn-out or unsupportive slippers. I used to have a pair of slippers that I absolutely adored. They were soft, easy to slide into, and felt like an old friend hugging my feet. I wore them every morning while making coffee, every evening while doing dishes, and sometimes even outside to grab the mail. But one afternoon, as I stood at the sink scrubbing a stubborn pan, I felt a deep ache spreading through my hip. At first, I thought it was just the long day. Later, when I looked at the slippers, I noticed the soles were completely flat, worn down unevenly, and practically offering no support at all. That was when it clicked. Those slippers weren't protecting me, they were quietly damaging me. Here's the hidden problem. When we wear slippers or shoes with no arch support, our feet collapse inward or outward with every step. And the body is a chain. When the foundation is off, the imbalance travels upward. First to the knees, then the hips, then the lower back. Imagine trying to build a house on crooked ground. No matter how solid the walls are, eventually the structure cracks. That's exactly what happens inside our bodies. If we ignore this, the results are painful and frustrating. Each step puts stress on the hips. Our posture suffers. Short walks around the house become tiring, and standing to cook feels heavier than it should. Many women assume they need stronger painkillers or more rest, when in fact, they may simply need better shoes. The good news? The solution is within reach. Choose slippers or house shoes with firm soles and arch support, ones that keep the feet steady. Replace them as soon as they start wearing unevenly. If you spend long hours cooking or moving about the house, don't hesitate to switch into supportive sneakers indoors. Your hips, your knees, and even your back will thank you. When I finally made this change, I was amazed. The dull ache I thought was just part of aging began to ease. I stood straighter at the counter, I walked lighter around the house, and even my energy lifted. Something so small, something I once ignored, turned out to be a powerful step toward healing. And that's the lesson. Sometimes it isn't the heavy burdens that hurt us, but the little things we stand on every single day. Number 5. Standing too long in the kitchen or laundry without breaks. I'll never forget one holiday season when I decided to cook a big meal for the family. The kitchen smelled of roasting garlic and warm bread, pots were bubbling on the stove, and laughter echoed from the living room. I wanted everything to be perfect, so I stayed on my feet for hours, chopping, stirring, washing, and cleaning. By the time I finally sat down, my hips were throbbing so badly that I could hardly enjoy the meal I had worked so hard to prepare. That's when I realized something important. It's not just what we do that hurts our hips, but how long we do it without giving our body a break. Here's the truth. When we stand for long periods without moving, our hips carry the full weight of our bodies continuously. Unlike walking, where muscles shift and share the load, standing still makes the hips bear the pressure without relief. It's like hanging a heavy purse on your shoulder all day. Eventually, the muscles tire, the joints ache, and the body rebels. If we ignore this, the consequences creep in. Our hips grow sore, our lower back stiffens, and fatigue sets in faster. Some women even begin to avoid cooking or doing laundry altogether, not because they don't want to, but because their body simply can't take the strain anymore. And slowly, without realizing it, those daily pains start stealing our joy and independence. But the solution is kinder than we think. It's not about giving up what we love, but about caring for ourselves while we do it. Place a cushioned mat in front of the sink or stove to soften the impact on your joints. Keep a small stool nearby so you can sit for a few minutes while chopping vegetables or folding clothes. And make it a gentle rule to stretch or walk around every 20 to 30 minutes. Even a short pause to roll your shoulders or move your legs can reset the pressure on your hips. When I started using a cushioned mat and allowed myself those short breaks, the difference was undeniable. Instead of ending the day exhausted and aching, I could finish cooking, sit down with my family, and actually enjoy the meal. What once felt like a punishment to my body became something I could do with ease again. And the lesson was clear. Taking breaks isn't laziness, it's self-respect. Our hips don't need us to do less, they just need us to do it smarter. Number 6. Sudden, straining movements while cleaning. One Saturday morning, I decided the house needed a good deep clean. You know that feeling. You open the curtains, see the sunlight streaming in, and suddenly notice every speck of dust on the furniture. I grabbed a bucket of water, bent down too quickly, twisted to the side, and in an instant, a sharp pain shot straight through my hip. I froze, gripping the counter, wondering how something so small could hurt so much. That was the moment I learned an important truth. Our hips are stabilizers, not shock absorbers. When we twist, bend, or lift suddenly, the hip joint and surrounding muscles take the full impact. It's like forcing a door hinge back and forth without oiling it. Eventually, it squeaks, stiffens, or even breaks. The problem is, Cleaning often tempts us to move too quickly. We sweep in wide twists, we bend forward to pick up heavy laundry baskets, we carry buckets filled to the brim. All of these actions put unnecessary stress on the hips. And if we ignore it, the pain doesn't just last for the day, it builds. Tasks that once felt simple, like vacuuming or mopping, start to feel like mountains to climb. Worse still, sudden movements increase the risk of strains, pulled muscles, or even dangerous falls. But here's the good news. We can clean smarter, not harder. Instead of twisting your body, turn your feet so your whole body moves in the same direction. When lifting, bend your knees instead of your waist and keep the object close to your body. Break heavy loads into smaller ones. Carry half a basket of laundry instead of the whole thing at once. And if you're sweeping or mopping, take shorter, slower strokes instead of wide, forceful ones. When I started paying attention to these details, everything changed. No more stabbing pain after mopping. No more limping after laundry day. I could get the house tidy without feeling like I had punished my body. In fact, cleaning became gentler, almost like exercise, steady, controlled, and surprisingly energizing. It taught me something powerful. A clean home means little if it leaves us in pain. True care starts with protecting ourselves while we care for the place we live in. Number 7. Getting out of bed too quickly in the morning. One morning, I woke up to the smell of fresh coffee drifting in from the kitchen. Excited, I threw back the blanket and jumped straight out of bed. But the second my feet hit the floor, a sharp jolt of pain shot through my hip. I stumbled, grabbing the nightstand for balance, my heart racing. What should have been a calm, pleasant start to the day turned into a reminder that my body was no longer 20 years old. Here's what I didn't realize back then. After a full night of sleep, our muscles and joints are stiff, almost like a rusty hinge that hasn't been used in hours. When we suddenly stand up, the hip joint takes the full impact, unprepared. Over time, this repeated shock leads to stiffness, inflammation, and even a greater risk of falling. If we ignore this habit, mornings become dreaded moments. Instead of rising with ease, we brace ourselves for pain. The first steps of the day feel heavy and unstable, as if the body is resisting us. And that sets the tone for the whole day. Instead of energy, we start with hesitation. But there's a better way, and it only takes a minute. Before jumping out of bed, give your hips a gentle wake-up call. Stretch your legs slowly, point and rotate your ankles, or pull one knee toward your chest, then the other. When you're ready to rise, roll onto your side first, use your arms to push yourself up, and only then place your feet on the ground. This simple sequence warms the joints and makes standing smooth and safe. When I started doing this, I was amazed at how much lighter my mornings felt. No more stabbing shocks, no more clumsy stumbles. Instead, I began each day steady and calm, with a sense of control over my body. That morning taught me a lesson. Aging doesn't mean giving up, it means learning new ways to respect our bodies. Even the smallest rituals, like how we rise from bed, can protect our hips and keep us strong for the day ahead. Looking back at all these habits, I realized something important. It's not always the big events in life that hurt us. Sometimes it's the little daily routines we don't even notice. Sitting too low, sleeping without support, rushing on stairs, standing too long, moving carelessly, or jumping out of bed too fast. These are small actions, but repeated day after day, they shape how we age. And the truth is, we don't have to accept hip pain as just a normal part of getting older. We still have the power to make choices that protect our bodies, choices that keep us moving, independent, and free to enjoy life. I often remind myself, the same home that can wear us down can also heal us, if we learn to use it wisely. By changing these simple habits, I felt stronger, lighter, and more in control. And I believe you can, too. Now the choice is yours. Will you keep repeating the same small mistakes, or will you start treating your hips with the care they deserve? If this video gave you even one new idea to try, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who might also be struggling with hip pain. You never know, a simple tip could change her life, just like it changed mine. And stay tuned, because in my next video, I'll reveal the everyday foods that secretly weaken women's bones after 60. And I promise, Number 3 on that list will truly surprise you.